like you said, investing always evolves. People are also evolving, and I mean evolving not in the case of investing, but evolving in terms of their investing needs.
Correct.
Right? Investing needs is also something which investor prioritizes from time to time. And one very evolving need is financial independence, retire early, which was, let's say, not the case even 5 years back. This was, let's say, not the case. And people have started to realize that they can quit their mundane jobs and be happy and spend more time with their family. COVID has played a big role in it.
Correct.
So the idea typically is that you retire before your traditional age of 60. Somebody can retire at 50, 45, 35, 40, whatever you feel like. But the constraint is that you must hit a corpus that you've decided for yourself. Somebody takes 33x of their annual expenses, somebody takes 25, somebody takes even 40. How do you see all this? Like, in terms of not just as a investor, but because you're also somebody who gives a lot of commentary, somebody who shares a lot of perspectives, researches a lot. What do you make of this entire movement, that is going on right?
Fire. I think financial independence is what people want. A lot of people who at least I talk to,
Right.
they have no interest in retiring early per se.
Hmm.
And please don't think it means, that picture of someone sipping pina coladas in a beach or anything of that sort. But yes, financial independence is something that people want.
Right.
Okay. And which is very
Basic,
basic that, you do what you want to do with your
Right.
time. You don't have to. So you work.
Yeah.
But you work per your time, your needs, what you want to do, etc. It's not like you're being forced upon this thing, which is right. So
Right.
they want to move out of that corporate environment. They want to do their stuff. A lot of people I speak to now want to do something on the self-employment basis, or they want to create a small business for themselves and stuff like that.
Right.
That's really what I think people's definition of financial independence is. In terms of a corpus, of course, it depends on factors like age and your requirements and all that stuff. But I think I would have spoken to more than 80 people over the last 1.5 years. And somewhere and I've done a lot of calculations also, because people would ask me that similar question. So I've done
Right.
maybe for 30 odd people. And everywhere that magic number that seemed to come out for someone who's around the 40-year mark used to be around 9 to 10 crores. This is a regular person who has
Right.
enough expenses, lakh rupees ke upar tak expense
Right.
in a month. And we do the inflation assessment कि कल को कितना होगा, their cash flow needs,
Right.
बच्चों का पढ़ाई आएगा, बच्चों का this thing आएगा, marriage आएगा, हम लोग ये सब डाला.
Somewhere,
it's kind of floating around that 9, 10, maybe किसी का 12, 13 तक
For
भी
a
जाएगा.
40-year, you're saying,
For a
at the age-
40-year-old
Right.
person,
Right.
married, young children, 1 or 2 children, typically works in a Bangalore-based IT company kind of a
Right.
scenario. So
Right.
maybe earns 2.5, 3 lakhs ka take home, that kind of a scenario.
Right.
Has some money already invested in different places, has a house.
Right.
That number is coming to around 10 CR.
What does 10 CR include? Does 10 CR include the invested corpus in equities, fixed deposits, all of that? And not real estate, right? Real estate is not a part of this.
May or may not take it.
Yeah.
Let's not take it for now. So let's
Right.
say 10 crores worth of investable money.
Investable money. Right.
And then when you have 10, the idea, what I've always seen is to do it the way I explained it earlier.
Right.
That is, you keep your safety money. कि चलो मेरा ये 2 crore रुपए मैंने safety के लिए रख लिया. बाकी 8 I'm able to stretch it a bit.
Right.
Because I need to stretch it for the next 40 years, right?
Yeah.
50 years probably, right?
Right.
So how do I stretch it in a way that it can make me around 13-14% kind of this thing? ऊपर से tax भी है आजकल. This is pre-tax, so
Right.
you never know what's going to happen with tax. So all that has to be taken care of.
Right.
But that's what the number comes down to.
Right. And another thing, that people, let's assuming that let's take this number 10 CR. Somebody is retired at 40, and obviously now, let's suppose he's not let's say retiring, but he's doing something which is, let's say, not yielding that much income.
Yeah,
like his
I'll
corporate,
encourage that. Correct. Yeah,
that
exactly.
corporate job is, right? So, but his, let's say, lifestyle will obviously not change. He will
Correct.
kind of maintain that lifestyle. So obviously he'll have to start withdrawing money from that corpus, right?
Correct.
Like an SWP.
Correct.
Right? Now, SWP is something which India does not have success stories around, or it has, let's say, exposure to, right? Similarly, a case could have been made for SIPs also, maybe 5 to 10 years back. But now, obviously, that has changed.
Right.
Like you said, that I think the very first rule.
Correct.
Right. So, have you also kind of tried to analyze the SWP mechanisms. How do you see SWP as a tool in your investing bucket?
SWP will definitely come into the picture because the moment you need money, it has to come from your investment account only. And SWP, the withdrawals have to be done from there. It's as simple as that. Again, what I said with 40-year-old, and you're right. I really don't see a scenario where a person will say, now I'll get into everything withdrawing only from my corpus. The person will want to figure out a way of getting passive income from somewhere. So let's take my example. This YouTube channel which I have, if I don't post any videos for a month, let's say I go on a vacation for a month, this channel still gives me around 75,000 rupees a month. So that's passive now for me, right? So it's become a passive thing for me. Of course, I have to maintain it. I have to kind of put in some video from time to time and stuff so that it doesn't get dormant in any way. But this is what I observed. 75,000 comes in terms of a YouTube AdSense income for me. Similarly, I think people would do different things. They'll do some kind of consultancy. They'll build out some kind of a content-based asset, a digital asset or a physical asset or something they'll do to be able to work this out. In fact, now that I'm no longer, I'm more of a self-employed person, I'm actually meeting a lot of self-employed people. And I'm amazed the kind of stuff that people are doing. You know, and मुझे अभी लगता है कि मैं कुछ नहीं कर रहा हूँ. You know, it's like that's the kind of. But when you're a salaried person, you're only hearing about those same things. यार इस बार hike नहीं हुआ मेरा, यार इस बार वो हो गया, ये हो गया, and all that stuff करके. So there's massive difference between these two. This thing. I think when the SWP scenario really starts is in your 50s. I mean, I'm saying more on a realistic basis after speaking to so many people. When it really starts is from your 50s and then it continues. But by that time, that 10 CR at the age of 40 that we had, that would have gone up to probably a good number. Right? Even if you assume 12% over a 10-year period, you're looking at what? Around 40 CR. So you're looking at a big number, maybe 30 CR. So that's what your corpus would become by the time you start hitting the age of 50. And then with 30 CR in hand, doing an SWP is not going to be tough for you.
And one more question that I had. So obviously, like you said, on a 10 CR number, you had inflation adjusted to it.
Correct.
For your future expenses. Is there a tax calculation also? Because tax still doesn't go away, right? For somebody who's such high net worth.
We had done a tax calculation on the capital gain part. Because that is a given, right? Your income tax slab might be zero, but you are doing a capital gain that comes out, right? So we had done a calculation for that also. At that time, we had done it at a blended basis. We had done it at around 12% at that time.
But is there any downsides that you see to SWP, which, let's say, any mistake that a person can make? So basically what I'm talking about here is a withdrawal rate, right? So is withdrawal rate, so what would be let's say the recommended withdrawal rate that you'll see?
So I've not done that 4% kind of a rule, kind of a analysis here. Generally what I used to do is, I recommend it to everyone, don't go with these thumb rules. This is too important a stuff for you to actually work out with thumb rules. So what we used to do is, we would take year by year scenarios. इस साल में आपका कुछ जाने वाला पैसा, इसमें कुछ है, सडनली समझ लो, हाँ वो बच्चे का अगर समझ लो का एडमिशन हो गया बड़ा, 1 करोड़ रुपए निकालना पड़ा, ठीक है निकालते 1 करोड़ रुपए. So we'll knock off that cash flow from there. So instead of keeping it to the mercy of some 4% rule, 3% rule, 5% rule, I prefer that you map out your cash flows to the extent of your knowledge.
So that is, I it does, because by keeping in this formulas, numbers, everything becomes so rigid. फिर वो स्ट्रेस आता है कि ये यहाँ से हिला तो सारा वो गड़बड़ हो जाएगा, राइट? तो I think that is there.
I almost never use a thumb rule. मतलब I encourage people, मतलब मैं तो बोल ही रहा हूँ ना इतने से कि trust but verify. तो I don't trust any rule. उसको मैं verify करके देखूंगा कि मेरे इसमें पल्ले में पड़ रहा है कि नहीं. And then I will not kind of generalize it by saying मेरे में 3.5% आ रहा है. Because that scenario can change also, right?
Obviously, these rules have logics and years of understanding that is what been built. But obviously, what these rules are basically all mathematical. What they can't factor in is life.
Correct.
What is happening in your life? What is happening to your family? What is happening in the world?
Correct.
So obviously, these variables never be adjusted in performance.
Since I've become a self-employed person, I've seen that I make money from unexpected sources and I lose money in unexpected sources. It's very weird. But कहीं से भी पैसा आ रहा है और कहीं पे भी पैसा चला जा रहा है. It was completely unplanned. Like
Right.
in a month, I would say, Vishwas, 20%
Hmm.
of the money which I make or lose is completely unplanned.